Their awful crimes made the front page, a list of particularly horrific murders. In Belgium, Kim de Gelder, aged 20, savagely attacked a dozen babies in a nursery with a knife.
This has affected me so deeply that I think it will be for the rest of my life. I will keep track of what that person is doing, no matter what.
Daniela Prance was accused of 4 murders in 1994 and given a life sentence.
He's someone who is just so sweet and considerate and has such extraordinary, genuine feelings. He's the perfect, handsome lover.
Patrick Hannon was tried for a revenge attack in which he killed 2 and is on death row awaiting execution.
People think it's us giving and giving to the inmate, but you have no idea how much they're giving back. I have grown up ever since. I have matured, so who am I to break down? But if they really kill them, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Franck Moore, double murderer, sentenced to death in Texas.
Love has made him beautiful. I think he's very handsome. It's improved the way he looks.
Behind these condemned men the world has locked away, there is often a woman in love. Be it fascination, compassion, or love at first sight, it's an unusual love story, to say the least. How can you love someone who has been found guilty of committing such crimes? How can these women forget the past and have a normal, balanced relationship? Presenter Clémentine Célarié spoke with several of these impassioned women in a series of remarkable and intimate interviews that give a glimpse into why and how they have fallen for such men.
How can a man who has murdered, raped or tortured women attract you? How is it possible to sleep or live with someone like that without the fear of being killed at night? How can you be so sexually attracted? Personally, I'm both horrified and terrified at the thought because I've seen the bodies of the victims. I don't understand how you can't be afraid. How could you let yourself be touched by the same hands that have strangled, raped and tortured other women?
20-year-old Kim de Gelder murdered 3 people, including 2 babies, in a frenzied attack in a nursery. The crime shocked Belgium. And yet, Angelina from Sweden fell madly in love with the killer.
Bonjour, hello.
Bonjour.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, enchantée de...
Enchantée.
Vous connaissez?
Tu parles français?
Un peu.
Un peu? D'accord. We speak English, okay?
Yeah, that's better.
Welcome, it's a small place.
Yeah.
But you know, it's my place, okay? And welcome in my place.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Clémentine.
Clémentine,
Okay,
yeah.
Célarié. So welcome.
Thank you.
I think you have to sit here.
Yeah.
I'm happy to meet you, and thank you for coming in my place. It was a
It reminds me of my small apartment I had.
Really?
Before, yeah. My son has that apartment now. It's also a one-room apartment.
Really?
Yeah.
Angelina lives in Sweden, not far from Stockholm. Aged 42, she's a sensitive, romantic artist. She paints and writes electronic music. In July 2008, during a rock concert, she met an attractive young man.
Could you try to remember what attracted you in Kim?
I didn't want to be attracted to that young, very little guy. So I felt weird because he was so much younger. Mm-hmm. So I tried to ignore, the attraction and feeling. I couldn't say there was anything particular that I was attracted to. It was just a feeling, a connection. A very strong feeling from the heart.
Hundreds of kilometers away in the small town of Termonde in Belgium, a long-haired young man called Kim is about to commit an atrocious act.
Kim de Gelder arrives on his bike and stops at the nursery in Termonde, which is close to Ghent, which in turn is not far from Brussels. He parks his bike and enters through a back door, which is used by the parents when they drop off their kids at the nursery, which is called the Land of Fairy Tales. And he tells one of the minders that he's looking for some specific information, so she lets him in. He then goes crazy and stabs a 54-year-old nurse to death, and then kills 2 babies and wounds several others. The police soon arrives, but he's run away, and then the whole of Belgium is shocked by this awful drama. A drama that's hard to comprehend, beyond the imagination. How can anyone attack babies like that? No one ever imagined such a thoroughly atrocious thing could happen.
And it's Kim de Gelder's bicycle that leads to his arrest soon after the attacks.
At first, Kim adopts an attitude like he's a militant, a prisoner of war, and says nothing. Then, on a piece of paper in his possession, police discover the addresses of 2 other nurseries, which he had planned to attack, with the aim of killing as many as 75 victims. It was meant to be that day's bloody work.
News of Kim de Gelder's brutality spreads beyond Belgium and makes the front page everywhere, including Sweden.
This is the picture that you saw on the news?
Yeah, this is the first picture I saw in the news, Kim, in a Swedish newspaper. And it took a while for me, but then I started remembering that I had met a guy that looked just like him at a concert 6 months earlier, and his name was also Kim, and he was from Belgium.
And he looked the same in the hairs?
Yeah, same long hair, same age, and at first I was terribly shocked when I read about the news without immediately connecting. I usually don't feel so strong about every terrible news I read in the newspaper, and I, don't have a special tendency to fall in love with mass murderers in general either. So this is a very separate incident in my life, and that's affected me a lot. I can't even to imagine somebody doing like that, and then imagine that maybe I met this person, and I would prefer that it would be him, because then my memories would make sense and everything would, then I'm not just some crazy person imagining stuff.
Under the spell of the mysterious killer, Angelina wants him to know of her love and writes him a very provocative letter.
It's certainly bizarre to start a letter by saying murdering children is a courageous act. That's what probably fascinates her, the fact of doing something no one else would do, which makes Kim courageous in her eyes. But killing babies in the nursery is not a brave act. But she's fascinated by it, and she wants the boy, and the impression is that she's already in an intimate relationship with him. And she's jealous of all the potentially sexy female guards that might supervise him. It's almost incestuous. He's both her son and lover.
Angelina never receives an answer, but continues to write on a regular basis.
How many letters did you send to Kim de Gelder?
It must have been around 100 letters. For a period I sent a lot of letters, maybe 2 or 3 per week.
And the answer to you how many times?
Twice. Yeah, so it's a bit unfair. I wrote 100 letters and only got 2 back. The first letter I got when my dad took it up first, and then he gave it to me. And I was just ran into the bathroom and opened it, and was sitting there with my heart pounding and very shocked. I was pretty sure he was going to answer, at least once, but I didn't know when the letter was going to arrive, or if I was going to get the letter in my hands, so... I got it, yeah, I got 2 letters.
Did you feel like compassion, or what did you feel?
You know, I felt that for a while I felt that we were like one and the same person, that we had telepathic contact. It got very psychotic, everything. It like was entered another dimension where we could talk to each other about everything. And
do you think, could you describe this as a great thing, as a beautiful thing, as an extraordinary thing?
It was very extraordinary, and at the time I thought it was very beautiful too.
Yeah.
Because it was very overpowering emotionally.
Overpowering, you mean?
Yeah.
Very emotional?
Yeah, it was very emotional. And
yeah.
Well, you have to have a spiritual belief if you want to understand that sort of communication. So I believe people can communicate without saying a word, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
I was very angry that this has happened to me. Like, why?
Yes.
He said, because it has ruined my life, you know. I can't get a normal job because I have been pointing out as a crazy person in every newspaper, etc., etc. So
people say that you're crazy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why? Because
I was writing love letters to a mass murderer.
Okay. So you mean that loving someone who is a criminal makes you a criminal, right?
According to the Swedish people, yes.
You think it's just Swedish people that think that way, or do you think?
No, I think I'm the most hated woman in Belgium too.
It's remarkable to see just how far she feels there's something actually very healthy about this love. There's something very spiritual, very positive about her when she speaks about this connection. And also, we had a very good discussion. When a woman is in love, even with a monster, one can understand the love. I do, and I understand that she loves him.
Beatrice is in love with Danny Leprince. Leprince is serving a life sentence for 4 murders.
Bonjour. Hello.
Beatrice. Bonjour, merci.
This is my house. No, I'm joking. But would you like a drink?
No.
A coffee or something?
No.
My name's Clementine. I know your name, but I don't know anything about you. I wanted to, well, I wanted us to meet up and find out all about you for myself, not through listening to what others have said to me.
Beatrice lives in Marmande, a small town in southwest France, a quiet town like many others. Beatrice is an anaesthetist and every day has the same ritual back home when she's finished work. She keeps an eager eye open for the postman.
What is it?
A letter from Danny.
Does he write often?
Often, very often. It's a way to keep our relationship going. We have just the letters, the phone, and the occasional visits. There's a loving dedication. That's nice. And as he says, an innocent man sacrificed, which he always insists he is.
The man Beatrice calls Danny is Danny Leprince. They were married in 2008. The media called him the, quote, butcher of Sarthe. He stood trial in 1994 for the murder of his brother, his sister-in-law, and his 2 nieces, all of them stabbed to death.
It caused a real stir because I think it's just an awful massacre. And they found on that Monday morning, the 5th of September 1994, they found a body with the face that's almost been ripped right off. Christian Leprince, his wife who was murdered in the kitchen, the bodies of their two small daughters with some of their fingers cut off, their blood everywhere. And one investigator who said he had to roll up his trousers, there was so much blood. And we don't know what happened. It's a rural drama. The police need to solve this very quickly, get to the truth. There's a lot of pressure on them, and the massacre was truly horrendous.
2 days after the murders, the police arrest Danny Leprince and his wife Martine. By the end of the day, Martine claims she saw Danny kill his brother with a meat cleaver in front of their house. The love affair between Beatrice and Danny is the result of a remarkable twist of fate. Beatrice was watching a documentary on television about the Leprince murders. When she saw Danny on TV, it was to change her life. In 1997, 3 years after the murders, the trial gets underway in Le Mans. The courtroom is tense, and Leprince, standing alone in the dock, appears aloof, emotionless.
I was getting over a divorce and was feeling very down, and I thought, the poor man, he needs help, and I thought I could do something useful in my life.
Because as a doctor, you don't contribute anything.
No, I mean, in my life, I thought I could do one good act. So I decided to help him.
And that's how it started.
And that's how it began, yes. My approach is to be compassionate, to say, poor man, you're in a real pickle, it's just too bad what's happening. I think you're innocent and I'm willing to help if you want, and I'm sending some stamps so you can reply.
And Danny does reply.
When he replied the way he did, I discovered he was someone really exceptional who needed my help, and that was all.
Beatrice is convinced of Danny's innocence and wants to meet him. She travels from Marmande to Poissy for her first prison visit and the chance to meet Danny face to face.
When he saw me, he kept saying he didn't believe it, that it wasn't true, and that I couldn't possibly be interested in him. But I was, and it was quite touching, as he was in a really bad way, psychologically. It's true to begin with. He found it hard to accept there really was someone interested in him, someone who came to visit him, me. To me, it was a commitment from when I first went to see him. And in fact, that's what I told him. What do you think? I'm here in front of you. We're locked in this room. I can't get out. We're together for 2 hours at least. What do you think? I'm not going to leave. I'm here. Then it got even more serious, and we got married 3 months later.
Encouraged by his wife's love, Danny finally demands a retrial to prove his innocence once and for all.
While the courts were considering his appeal, the review committee said there were grounds to have Danny Leprince's sentence quashed.
Danny Leprince is freed after 16 years in prison.
It's actually quite admirable how she grabbed the case and studied it from beginning to end, and even resumed her criminology studies to better understand what was at stake, to see what errors might have been made, and fall like a lioness for his cause. And I think she's the person who now knows the case the best.
Danny Leprince never utters a word, as he's been strictly warned to keep quiet and give no interviews to the media.
After 16 years in jail, liberty is a very daunting prospect. Everything's changed. Everything's different. You need to get to grips with being free again, and it's terribly difficult.
He was locked up behind bars for almost 17 years, so he had to learn to use keys again.
Yeah, it must have been really hard for him.
No, the real thing that bothered him was when I left and locked the door behind me, and that reminded him. But I used to tease him with that. I tell him, I'm leaving, but you have the keys. Mentally, it reminded him of little things. The relationship, which had been uncertain, became stronger. So, love is always there, as is the kindness. So it's good.
Beatrice and Danny finally learn how to live together, like a proper married couple. But their happiness is short-lived when, in April 2010, there's bad news.
The appeals court rules the review committee was wrong and orders his return to prison, having been judged once and for all to be guilty.
And how did you feel after you left prison that day?
I felt angry. I was furious. Thinking you can destroy someone's life, make him suffer for something he never did, I was furious. Something had to be done to stop this, and I was more determined than ever to help him.
On her own now at Marmande, Beatrice thinks only of the day when she and Danny might be reunited.
When he left, suddenly like that, I had to hide all his personal belongings because I couldn't bear to look at them. So all his clothes, his bicycle, his gloves, his boots, everything, I put them all in the cupboard. I missed him even more than ever.
After numerous twists and turns, Danny, supported by Beatrice, asks for conditional freedom. And in a dramatic development, 18 months after being sent to prison a second time, his appeal is finally accepted, and Danny, wearing an electronic tag, will be reunited with Beatrice.
Today's the date he's released, so I hope the time will be, well, that someone will tell me what time, even if it's at the last moment. Because the trouble of transferring prisoners is that the families are only informed after the transfer has taken place. He can't call me, and I'm not sure he will get permission to do so. The 18 months were really hard. It was tough going all the way to the Paris region, to Fresnes, where he was, for prison visits that sometimes were really short. It was awful for us. Well, it's almost all over, so that's fantastic. Let me through. I'm here. Don't worry, I'm right here.
Mrs. Leprince, this must be an emotional moment.
Yes, a lot of emotion. Yeah, come over here.
A quick word, Mrs. Leprince.
Yes, I'm delighted. My husband isn't allowed to talk about it, though. He has to come home.
Is this a new start, Mrs. Leprince? How does it feel?
Oh, it's wonderful. But I can't talk anymore, so please, that's it. Bye. Sorry.
Beatrice and Danny make the most of their reunion in private and have never left each other's sides since. In Europe, the penalties for murder might be severe, but in some states of the US, homicide is punished with a death sentence. Many prisoners find themselves on death row, waiting to be executed. One such is Patrick Hannon. His wife is Petra, a German.
Bonjour, hello. Enchanté. Enchanté. You speak French? No, pas beaucoup.
Oh, a little bit.
I understand.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you.
So.
Petra is a park ranger in a suburb of Stuttgart. She lives in a small house in the woods. After her morning rounds, she knows a love letter will be waiting for her in her mailbox. She gets one every day.
Love. My beautiful wife, you're the love of my life, the center of my very existence. Without you, I'm nothing but a lost, lonely man. With you in my heart and by my side, I'm the happiest man in the world. He always says he's the happiest man in the world, although he isn't there. So, now let's see, Patrick. Tuck, there he was.
In January 1991, at Tampa in Florida, Patrick Hannon took part in a settling of scores with two friends that ended badly. One man is killed, stabbed several times. Another is murdered by multiple gunshots. His accomplices say Patrick is responsible for both killings, and he's arrested and sentenced to death. He's now been on death row in Florida for almost 23 years.
This is what Patrick did for me.
He did it himself?
Yeah. Until a couple of years ago, they could crochet, and now it's not legal anymore, but somehow he had some yarn left, and that's what he did for me.
How did you meet him?
Some people say it was by chance, but actually it's a crazy story. I remembered this, I seen a documentary in German television about some sheriff in Arizona. And from this sheriff, I got to death penalty, to death row, one click after another. But out of curiosity, I clicked on some state. It happened to be Florida. And they are listed alphabetically, you know, from A to L, H to something, 4 sections. And I closed my eyes, I clicked on age, and there he was, Hannon. And then I said, okay, I'll give it a try. If he had not written back, I would have never tried another inmate. This was not what I wanted. But he wrote me a letter, very nice, and I was digging into his case, and I thought to myself, this man is not guilty. We are writing since 2008, and I got the huge boxes in my bedroom. Must be more than 1,000 letters. I never throw away any letter, never.
You write very often?
Every day.
Every day.
And he too.
And he too.
Yeah. Letters and cards and more letters. And of course, everything is censored. See, du bist mein wahre Liebe. In German, oh, yeah. I love you, and so on and so forth. This is our married life, you know. I look at him, he's a teddy bear. He couldn't kill a fly. He couldn't kill a fly. He's not my killer, he's my husband.
Could you tell us about the first time you saw Patrick?
Yes. We were riding like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. And then the question arises, will you visit me? And I was afraid it was behind glass. It's not behind glass, we have contact visits. Like you and I.
Like you and voilà. That's what I was thinking about.
Thank God, that's important.
Yeah, of course.
Because we can hold hands, and we can
touch and see, and
I can smell him and feel him and touch him, and so that's the good thing about it. Well, I booked a flight to Florida, thinking to myself, what are you doing? And I was driving to prison, and I thought to myself, this is not happening. Is this happening? And so I was standing in this visitors park, thinking to myself, any minute now, the door will open and my future husband, my probably future husband, will come out and let's see. I hope he's not a douchebag. Okay.
A what?
A douchebag, an idiot. So he came out, he saw me, and it was instant recognition. And then he kissed me. I don't remember much. There must have been an earthquake somewhere, a hurricane or... Oops. And I was, okay, it's him. That's him. It's him. Oh, my God. And then I next, oh, my God, I'm trapped. Now I'm trapped. I did have a wonderful life before, you know. I had no worries in the world. Now I do have a big problem.
Yeah.
But he's the, yeah, now I do. But he's the man of my life, believe it or not. He's funny.
Of course.
Twice a year, Petra flies to the town of Stark in the United States, where the largest penitentiary in Florida also holds some of the state's most dangerous prisoners. 1,400 inmates held in a maximum security jail. All the European wives of death row prisoners stay in this hotel. Petra is in the habit of always reserving the same room.
This is my wedding dress, because we are not allowed to wear white. And I had to pick a color. When I got married, I didn't know this or this. And I threw a coin, and it was the green one.
It's important for you to change every day.
Not
to
for
have a
me,
nice
for him.
For him.
For him. And I wear high heels, and if I can. And I want to look good for him. Yeah, I want to look good for him. So I think I'll take this one tomorrow and this one on Sunday. I will decide tomorrow morning. I'm not much into dresses, but it's for him. It's for my husband.
At Stark, visiting hours are between 9 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. 6 hours for Petra to rediscover her husband after a 6-month separation.
This entire place only exists because of the prisons. It's a prison industry. Everybody like either working for the prisons or the farmers around here growing cabbage support the prison, and all the wonderful cattle you see around here, the cows and all the pigs that are bred here, you know, they are for the people, but you must not believe they are getting any real meat. They're getting like meat patties or something, some substitute stuff.
Suddenly, Florida's largest prison appears out of nowhere. It's a series of buildings that seem to stretch forever, surrounded by barbed wire fencing.
This is the building where Patrick is at. And you see this V? This is their yard. So, hey, they're out? No, they are not. Oh, yes, they are. See? See, there's orange shirts. Patrick is there. Patrick is on the yard. Wow, if he knew that I'm here. If he only knew that I'm here. He is never missing a yard. This is Patrick there. And this is the correctional institution here. In this building, they are keeping the drug dogs and the prison dogs. This is where we are lining up. I must obviously not go there. That's administration. This is where the guards are going. And this is our parking lot. I'm just passing by because we want to be safe. We want to be safe. See, there's a patrol car. If they think we are any suspicious, we are in trouble. But of course we are not. My goodness, Patrick is out on the yard. Now I can tell him, hey baby, I saw you. Ooh, I did not obviate, but I know he never misses a yard. He never does. I'm so excited. It's the first time I saw them on the yard, actually. Wow, I'm so excited. They have yard this morning. They have yard like twice a week. For 3 hours. Only twice a week for 3 hours. That's all they see.
Petra married Patrick in 2008. Since then, she's managed to get by with the help of the wives of other prisoners. such as Georgia, the woman that aided her from her very first visits. The wives meet up here. They're a mixture of nationalities, French, Swiss, and even an Australian.
Le lendemain du jour où il a reçu ma lettre, tout le monde lui a parlé de ma visite prochaine.
Ah bon?
Despite the smiles, there's an ever-present threat. Florida is one of the states with the highest number of executions. During executions, the rules for the families of the condemned are very strict.
In some states, relatives or wives, family may watch the execution. In any case, Florida does not allow this. If there is an execution of my husband, for instance, I'm not even supposed to be around. I must not be like 2 miles within the prison. That's Florida law, is a bit different. I haven't gone any further. I don't know if I could claim his body. I don't even want to think about it. Yeah, this is the way to, excuse me, prison. Hell, I wouldn't know what to do.
How'd you leave? I mean, since you've been married and since you love that man.
I lost a lot of friends and I lost half of my family. My brother is absolutely against it. My son is against it. My sister is supporting. My parents are deceased already, but I guess they must be rolling in their graves. You got to be strong.
So you're looking nowadays,
Yes, I'm
urgently looking for a lawyer.
Yeah, because he lost all his appeals now. And we must find a lawyer before it's too late.
And what is the time? I mean,
It depends on the governor.
Okay.
The governor focuses on cop killers, sexual predators, child killers. So he's not any of them.
And so now for you, it's urgent to find someone, a lawyer who's going to help you.
Legal help, legal help, please, please, God.
After this last prison visit, Petra is visibly upset.
Oh, God. And each time after the last visit, when I drive back to Stark, mixed feelings, big time. Mixed feelings, big time. I'm happy that I saw him. I'm sorry I have to leave him here in hell. And on the other hand, I want to get the hell out of this country as quickly as possible. But then again, obviously, I want to take him with me.
The visit proved too much for Petra.
We took just one picture. And one copy for you.
Oh, it's very nice.
And Patrick is saying hello to you all. People think it's us giving and giving to the inmate, but you have no idea how much they're giving back. I have grown up ever since. I have matured. And actually, I'm aging now. Get gray hair over the stuff, you know. And he's been in hell for like almost 22 years, keeping hope alive. So who am I to break down? But if they really killed him, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have no idea. That's the best visit I ever had, due to you guys. You know, if you weren't here now, I'd be in the room, or kicking the wall, or, you know, just breaking down. It's good you're here. I'll see you in a minute.
What's changed in his life?
My love. because he has no body. My first letter arrived, and he said it was like a sun ray getting in, so that I met him at the lowest point in his life, which frightens me sometimes. I'm always driving very carefully. Patrick needs me. I don't care about myself, you know. If a plane crashes or a car crashes, I don't care about myself. He needs me, he needs me, he needs me. So this is, yeah. We are a perfect team. We're a good team. We're a fun team, actually. Wow. He's a nice guy. You would like him.
I think it's horrible. It's just horrible to see someone who is that lonely and who can't get through because she has no money. And the only thing I can think about is that we have to help her, because this man could die, and, well, there must be many others that are in the same situation.
Clémentine is going to meet Danielle. Danielle is Belgian and married to Franck Moore, who has been sentenced to death.
Hi, I'm here to meet a woman who I think is waiting for me in the basement. Thank you.
Hello, Clémentine. How are you?
Yes, very well.
Franck was a leader in the Crips, one of the most feared street gangs in the United States. Convicted of double murder, Franck is on death row in the high-security prison in Livingston, in Texas. Far away in Belgium, Danielle decided to write to Franck to exchange ideas and keep his morale up.
Well, at the beginning it was just a friendship, but then we eventually started to get to know each other better and things developed. Franck sent me a letter declaring his love for me, saying, "I think of you more than just a pen friend. But if you don't have the same feelings for me, I'll respect you just the same, and you'll always have a special place in my heart. But I won't be able to keep writing, as that would be too painful." I replied that, yes, I did also feel something for him, but that I'd never dared express myself in case I scared him off. And so that 29th September was the day we first met. He arrived, handcuffed, in the cage, then knelt down to have his cuffs taken off, and we spoke through the phone, and I said, "Hello, my love. How are you doing today?" He looked at me, all surprised, and I was a bit embarrassed, and I thought, what have I said? It was stupid of me. And then I asked him, "Didn't you receive my letter?" And he said, "No, we've had no mail for nearly 3 weeks." So I knew why, and I explained I had received his letter, and that broke the ice.
Despite the distance between the two countries, the thick glass that separates them, and the constant threat of execution, Danielle falls in love with Franck.
You must have had a tremendous will to have carried on, to continue in the face of... But do you think this man, your husband, has changed since he met you?
Yes. Yes, because when you see the early photos, photos taken before we met each other, there's a kind of mask. A tough guy that lets nothing touch him. And I have to say, I think love has made him beautiful. I always thought he was handsome, but it softened the way he looks, and you'll see that in the photos.
Do you have any?
Yes, of course.
I'm so pleased to have met you. You make me want to cry, and I'm not someone that cries.
I have some tissues, so don't worry. This was during one of my first visits. You can see the glass, and it's almost as if...
Ah, there was a glass.
Yes, so this is the frame of the glass, and you're not allowed to touch that.
Not at all.
No, there's a kind of sensor there.
It's very bright.
He's happy.
He's very handsome.
Thanks.
The relationship between Danielle and Franck is very strong, even though it remains platonic.
I never touched my husband, even on our wedding day.
But in your soul you did.
Yes, in my soul.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
In my soul, yes.
That's incredible.
It was straight from the heart. We made love on paper, I suppose.
What does that mean on paper?
Well, we'd write what our needs were.
I would have never felt comfortable asking, but since you've mentioned it, you'd write about your desires and wishes on paper?
Yes, and you have to realize that this will be read by someone else. And that you're basically exposing yourself in front of people you don't know, and who will read my letters and about my desires, dreams, and what I dreamed my husband can touch me, stroke my breasts, and so on.
Yeah, so you wrote everything down?
Yes, without going into detail, we both did. There must be some women who must find it hard to begin with, but they must read about it at least, so just do it.
So you just have to let yourself go completely?
Yes.
Forgetting what others will see?
Yes, yes.
I find it incredible, remarkable, magnificent.
Madly in love with each other, the couple marry in 2006, tempting fate one last time.
So I got married with a Belgian friend as witness, and then I went to the prison in my wedding gown, and they kind of did me a favor because the dress was open-backed. It was against the rules in theory, but I had a scarf of the same material, and I folded it in two and was wearing that, but I couldn't take in my bouquet.
And so there was no physical contact then either?
No.
So you only looked at each other through the glass?
Yeah. Yes. It was very, very difficult.
Danielle and Franck's happiness is short-lived. The date of execution is set for January the 21st, 2009, when Franck will be killed by lethal injection.
And how did you prepare yourself for the execution? How did you manage?
I think you can never really prepare for something like that, because you're only told 2 weeks before. The prison has to know.
I'm crying, and you're the one who went through it. It's awful. But to me, it's just terrible. Sorry, I interrupted.
No.
How did you manage?
What's really very, very hard is to say...
Thanks. You must have got through a lot of Kleenex.
Oh, yes. Mountains. Let's say I've got used to the fact, but you can never forget.
You don't seem to be suffering, you seem beyond that somehow.
Because I know he's in peace now, where he is, because in a certain way his death was a release. To live 24 hours a day in a cell that's just 6 square meters, surrounded by concrete, never being able to touch another human being, with no television, not even a small radio. That's all you have left. You see,
he's as much with you now as he was when he was locked away, because death is another kind of prison, you could say.
As the execution date approached, Danielle went to Livingston Prison to be closer to her husband for as long as she could.
I wanted to ask you what your last words to each other were. When did you see each other before the execution? I'm sorry to ask.
No, it's fine. We saw each other at midday on the day of the execution.
And what time was the execution?
At 6 in the evening. And at that point, the execution doesn't take place on death row in Livingston, but at Huntsville. That is about a 45-minute drive away. So the prisoner finishes his visit at noon, and the whole prison is on lockdown to avoid any uprising while he's taken out. Then he's driven to Huntsville, where there's a prison with an execution chamber inside, which is known as the Walls Unit.
Danielle had promised Franck her loving eyes would be the last thing he would see before dying.
You arrive at a door and they open it, and there's the room for those who are with the prisoner until the very last moment. There's a huge window. The whole wall in front of you is glass with thick green bars like this on the other side. And there, the condemned man is already laid out on a stretcher, facing the window. And he already has all the needles in his arms. Then they ask if he has any last words he'd like to say into a microphone that's hanging from the ceiling, and they can say whatever it is they want to say, and then they tell the director, "I'm ready now," and the injections begin. There are 3 of them, and they do it from the next room, and the whole thing takes maybe about 10 minutes.
So you saw him go?
Yes. And you can hear the pain. You can hear him being choked. You can hear the groans. There was a lot of love, and he said it was a release, but it hurt me so much to know I would be left behind, that I wouldn't be there to support him. He knew there weren't many people who were there to help me at the time.
He was thinking about you, in fact.
Yes, he said that he would be free because he had enough of living like that, but that he had hoped so much that I would be happy with him and that we'd be able to experience something, and that was really hard. But he said he wanted me to get on with my life and that he would be with me. He'd be there for me in spirit, of course.
And he told you to live your life?
He said I had to keep living, carry on with my life, and try and be happy. But it's extremely difficult because at that time I only wanted one thing. I swear, Clementine, if I could have climbed on that table instead of him, I would have given my life for that man. I know a lot of people will never understand that, but when you have so much love for someone, you can't let him leave. You feel he must keep living, and that's very, very difficult.
Merci.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just wanted to tell you that one feels better when you've met. I mean, you see things differently.
Well, good then.
That's what I wanted to say to you. It's really important that people hear your story. It's so fulfilling. You bring such an honesty. Franck is part of you. It's obvious. You bring your love, your experiences, your story, which is immense. And one just feels overwhelmed, different. So thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, merci. In meeting these men and women who give so much love to those who have so much need of it has really reignited my faith in humanity. The women who love them, those who fall in love with them and help them become better people, and really help rehabilitate them. These people are like, how can I say, like angels, like saviors.
I hope this film will open people's eyes and that even more women will feel like writing to such and such a person, to such and such a man or such a guy. And if they fall in love, even better. I mean, it will only bring happiness, and it's wonderful to have made this film about it, about the love they give in prison. It's like a salvation, a magic wand for those who are behind bars.